Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. And with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 2 of the anime series Megalo Box, which I continue to love above and beyond. This series just kicks all kinds of ass. But of course, before I get to my thoughts on episode 2, I'm going to just do a quick recap of everything else that I've watched, some of the first episodes that have thus far come out since my last video upload for the spring 2018 anime season. Those being Xian Pin Jieting, which translates loosely to Creature Family Days. I watched the first episode of this and really enjoyed it. It was only 15 minutes long, and I guess it's like a collaborative effort between Japan and China or something like that. As I had seen that some of the, sort of voiceover recording, you could choose between Japanese and Mandarin, depending on where you find the episode. So that's interesting, and I really found it to be an enjoyable episode. Kind of reminded me of Dagashikashi Season 2, with the shorter length episodes, inexplicably. Like, I don't know why exactly 15-minute episodes, but it was awesome. I also watched the first episode of Steins Gate Zero. I loved Steins Gate when I finally caught up with it all. I marathoned through the first season, and then like the special episodes and the follow-up movie and such like that. And Steins Gate Zero is pretty awesome. It's kind of like a beta timeline where Okabe does not save Kurisu. If you've never seen Steins Gate, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But in any case, it's really highly intriguing to start off with the first episode, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I also watched episodes 2 of Tadakun Never Falls in Love, as well as Comic Girls. Tadakun Never Falls in Love continues to really be enjoyable to me, lighthearted, fun, and funny, and it just had me smiling the whole way through. Comic Girls episode 2 was much more, it kind of fell flat for me. I didn't find myself as invested in it or laughing at all throughout it as I had the first episode, and I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna, whether I'm gonna continue with it. I'll give it like another episode and see what happens, but it'll have to do something special to keep my attention. And then finally, rounding out new stuff that I checked out was Wotako ni Koi wa Muzukashi, which loosely translates to "It's difficult to love an otaku," and I watched the first episode of this, and the entire thing was flat. I found it unresounding. I didn't really get into it. It kind of was trying to ride the same rails as Netju no Susume, but I found Netju no Susume to me was much more engaging, and the characters were much more likable. They're all drinking and smoking and going to bars in this series, and that's not a lifestyle that I relate to, and I don't particularly care for. So I didn't enjoy it, and I dropped it after the first episode. So that's everything that I have been watching over the last couple of days as of the time of this recording. And so, of course, that brings us to episode 2 of Megalo Box, and this series continues to kick all kinds of ass. I absolutely love it. The animation style, the character designs, the music from the OP to like the hip-hop number and all that stuff all throughout the episode. The stakes that are high-flying as we open this sucker with Junk Dog right up against Yuri where we left off, and Yuri's giving him sort of a condescending handicap. I'm only going to use my left hand in this fight. And we see Junk Dog, for the most part, holding his own, and then even almost getting a leg up on Yuri at one point. If you were only using the one hand, you'd be out like a light sucker. He delivers this verbal punch to Yuri. And then sort of metaphorically speaking, the gloves come off, and Yuri hands Junk Dog his ass, pummeling him, sending him down a one-round knockout. But to my ever-loving shock, surprise, and delight, Junk Dog picks himself up, and as Yuri's making his way out of the ring and out of the auditorium, he's like, "Dude, that's your Megalo boxing? That's the best you got? I'm still up. You couldn't even get an old Junk Dog laid out for good." And Yuri's just kind of like, he's all smug and everything like that. He's like, I'm not lowering myself to your level again. You want to come at me? Come at me on my terms. Find me in my ring. I wiped the floor with you in your ring. Even though you're back up and you're talking smack, you come into my house, and then we'll see who's going to be flat out by the end of it. And just the stakes of that. And then, of course, his going to Pops, his pseudo-manager. He's once again fixed him up with having to take a bow out of a fight. And JD, he's like, no, man, I had a taste of the glory. I want into Megalonia. I want at Yuri. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop, drop, and roll until I get my hands on that son of a bitch. And just like getting goosebumps. Like, you know, he has his whole future ahead of him now. But there is the hurdle of the fact that in his next fight, he doesn't take the dive that he's supposed to take that Pop set up, which pretty much endangers both of their lives, or at least Pop's life, you know. You got the big, you know, snake tattoo-armed drug guy or mob boss, Yakuza, whatever he is. Very, very ominous and foreboding the way he's looking at Pops. He's like, hands him a knife, and he's like, hey, take out an eye. That'll pay me back for the money I lost on this match that your boy failed to take the dive in. And so, of course, Pops, intriguingly, it was, again, a shock, a surprise, and a delight how he pulls out that Megalonia poster, calling back on JD, saying, this is what I want. This is where we're going. If we're going to remain partners or whatever, you got to have my back. This is what I want. And, you know, no more taking dives, no more of this BS, no more of this brouhaha. I want at that son of a bitch, that tall drink of water with the blonde hair. He's mine. I'm gunning for him. Do you have my back or not? And so Pops, in this last-ditch effort to save whatever clout they have left, which isn't a whole hell of a lot, you know, because they've been BS artists the whole time, taking dive after dive after dive. That's what they're known for. And nobody has faith in JD. I don't even think Pops does at that point. But we see he goes in and he knocks out the guy with one punch, you know, One Punch Man style, whop. And this guy's out for the count, who he was supposed to take a dive against. So, I mean, obviously JD is a tough number. He's a tough cookie, and he's going to rise the ranks. I have utmost faith that he's going to meet Yuri again at some point. And like, they have like a 3-month time limit to make good on this. Surprisingly, you know, the mob boss guy, he's all for it. You know, I guess he's intrigued or whatever it is, and he even gives him a little bit of a helping hand because, of course, JD doesn't have the citizen ID, which is a requirement to enter the Megalonia, you know, boxing competition. And so they falsify it with a guy who I guess they made oh so much chum, because, you know, money he owed or whatever it was, he fell through. And like the guy's like, oh, this guy gets carved up, and then all of a sudden I'm on the computer hacking his ID and making a new one for Junk Dog, for JD. And again, calling back to Ashita no Joe, I love the fact that when they give him the choice, you know, what do you want to have as your name, your official name? And he's like, Joe, tip of the hat, baby. You know, with Ashita no Joe, it's still a series that I haven't seen in its entirety. I did sample out the first episode of it, and I've heard nothing but, you know, acclaim about Ashita no Joe since this series began, you know, in the comments on my first impressions video of episode 1. And so I'm really highly intrigued to eventually delve into the entirety of Ashita no Joe. And I just love the fact that because this is sort of an anniversary effort, this series, you know, commemorizing Ashita no Joe, to have Junk Dog take that as his official name, that is all kinds of dope. You know, even without the familiarity, without the back history of Ashita no Joe, the series proper, under my own, you know, weight, it's, to me, that is, it signifies awesome sauce, you know, to make a thorough callback to it like that. And so, again, this series, nothing but excels as far as I'm concerned. I loved every dripping minute of it. I almost got a little bit of a vibe when Yuri goes back to his pad or whatever, and he lets his dog out, and his owner, air quotes, the lady, comes up and, you know, like she puts her hand on him in a way that makes me wonder if there's just a little bit more interest between she and him, to her words, to her dialogue, that you better remember your body's going to be the one that takes the win, you know. I have so much invested in you. Well, is there any personal interest invested there? Maybe, kind of, sort of, I don't know. But that was kind of the vibe I got. Very 80s, sort of like Scarface-esque, you know, characterization dynamics going on, back and forth going on. And I love that. I love that the characterization and the weight of the series, the stakes, everything involved, the animation style, it all conforms to that classic anime style, as I talked about in my first impressions video, you know, the Akiras and Ghost in the Shell 1995 anime movie and Cowboy Bebop and stuff like that. And that just ramps up my excitement all told. And by the end of this episode, it's right there again, you know, through the roof, for me at least. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of Megalo Box, if you saw it as well, if you loved it as much as I did, if you continue to love it as much as I do. Love it or hate it, of course, anything goes in the comments below. If you're finding it lacking in any way, shape, or form, let me know that. Always love having that conversation, even if our POVs happen to disagree. But yeah, I can't wait to see where we go from here. I can't wait to see what kind of journey Junk Dog, aka now Joe, is going to be on, if he's going to get back in touch with Yuri, and if he's going to take him to task, you know, take him to town, take him to lunch, paint the town red with Yuri's blood, you know? And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.